Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video we're going to start looking at Dissension, which is the last set of the original Ravnica block. As with Guild Pact, Dissension only has 3 pre-constructed decks, and the first one we're going to look at is, as you can probably tell from the background, the Azorius deck, the blue-white one. So let's start looking at this one. So, Decklist here, so we've got 26 creatures, 8 enchantments, 2 instants, 24 land, and a mana curve off to the side there. No 1-drops, I've just noticed, which is strange. Normally these decks try and have a fairly even mana curve. Anyway, let's start looking at the creatures. So, Azorius. Very rocky start for them, I think, on their first outing. They definitely got better. In the next sets when we went back to Ravnica, like Return to Ravnica and Guilds of Ravnica, they definitely got better. Kind of a rocky start, actually, which I kind of feel has been the theme really for all these guilds. I've been looking at, like, this is their first time out, and a lot of them just don't have mechanics that really mesh well. And anyway, but it's fine. You know, the first time's never going to be that great. But anyway, let's start looking at these cards. So, one of the rows of the deck is Isperia, the Inscrutable, who is, I think, pretty great. So 1 colourless, 2 white, 2 blue for a 3/6 flyer. Whenever Isperia deals combat damage to a player, name a card. That player reveals their hand. If they reveal the named card, you search your library for a creature card with flying, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So to reiterate, I just said Isperia was great. I think she's okay. Not in this context of a pre-constructed deck. I think she's fine when you play like normally constructed, and you maybe know what your opponent's like playing, so you can make an accurate guess as to what might be in their hand. For fresh out of the box, though, assuming 2 new players pick up decks, say one person picks up the Azorius deck and another picks up whatever another deck, and you play Asperia, big flyer, and get excited by it, swing with it, and then you're asked to name a card. Now, if you're a new player, you don't have the requisite knowledge to really use this card properly, and it's not like, say, like with other spells where, like, oh, if you have a bit more knowledge and experience with the game, you know how to use it. This is outright, you have to know names of cards. I think there is like some rule, some official rule where, like, if you can, as long as you can accurately describe the card, like without naming it, that is also fine. But yeah, I just think this is not a great design, or very like new player friendly. Also, I mean, the fact it's kind of it's kind of tough to work around. I don't think there's any ways in the deck of being able to see what your opponent's got in their hand. As far as I remember, so it's kind of a underwhelming effect. And I mean, all you do with it is you shoot up for a creature with flying and it goes into your hand, which is fine, but it's also a little underwhelming. In respect, not saying Isperia is a bad card. I just don't think she works well in this deck. I'll put it that way, or as she's currently designed. She gets an upgrade when we go back to Ravnica, which is like 1,000 times better than this person. That's what I think. But yeah, so kind of a little disappointing start, really, to the deck. So then we have 2 Azorius First Wings, so 1 white, 1 blue for a 2/2 flying with protection from enchantments, which I always thought was weird. Blue-white are usually colors that care about enchantments the most, as in, like, you want to put maybe auras on your creatures, so this kind of denies you putting auras on a pretty efficiently costed flying creature. Not sure about this one. It's okay, I guess, but I don't know, that protection from enchantments is kind of a bit niche, I think. Anyway, it's still okay. It's a little 2/2 flyer for 2. And 3 Beacon Hawks. This is okay, I think. So 2 mana for a 1/1 flyer. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you can untap a creature, which is alright. And it can boost its toughness by spending white mana. This is okay, I think. It's okay. Off the top of my head, I don't think there's too much in the deck that benefits from being kind of untapped multiple times. So again, maybe not completely ideal in this deck, but it's okay. I mean, you can still obviously untap. You can untap itself if it just does damage, and then it's kind of a very roundabout way of having a 1/1 flyer with vigilance, I suppose. And then 2 Mistral Chargers, just a 2/1 flyer for 2, and that's it. It's an uncommon for some insane reason. Yeah, maybe, I don't know, they were scared of like how aggressively costed it was, or it's a 2/1 flyer, it's technically evasive, 2 power, make it uncommon, I guess, but yeah, it's pretty weak uncommon to have, honestly. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. And then 2 Sky Hussar. This, I think, is one of the better cards in the deck. So 3 colors, 1 white, 1 blue. 4/3 flyer. When he enters the battlefield, untap all creature you control. So like these are all really good stats, good abilities and stuff. So then it has the Azorius mechanic, which is Forecast, which is honestly not great. And I don't really get the narrative like connection between this and like what the Azorius are, who are like essentially the lawmakers. So Forecast is tap. Basically, every card with Forecast has a cost, and you reveal it from your hand during your upkeep, and you get an effect. So Sky Hussar is tap 2 untapped white or blue creatures you control, reveal Sky Hussar from your hand, and you draw a card. So play this ability only during your upkeep and only once each turn. So I guess the intent here is, you tap 2 creatures, you draw a card, then you play Sky Hussar, and then you untap the creatures you tap to play for its Forecast ability. This is probably the best implementation of Forecast, honestly, in the deck. I think there are some Forecast cards out there which are sort of also pretty good, but in this deck, I think that's the best execution of it. And also just a big 4/3 flyer, which is typically how you're probably going to win. Anyway. And then the other rare in the deck is Wakestone Gargoyle. So this has been downshifted to uncommon, I think, and rightly so. So it's 4 mana for a 3/4 flyer with Defender, so it can't attack. But you can pay 1 color and 1 white, and creature you control with Defender can attack this turn as though they didn't have Defender. So there is a whole Defender sub-theme in this deck, which which is gonna go over the next couple of screens. And yeah, it's okay. I mean, I guess, it's an efficiently costed flyer, and it has ways of, but it's not efficiently costed because you got to spend 2 mana every turn to basically make it attack. So I don't know really how much value you're getting from it. But yeah, I mean, it sort of it depends on what the other creatures with Defender are in the deck. And yeah, we have 2 of them here, the bigger ones. So Stoic Ephemera, 3 mana for a 5/5 flying Defender. And when it blocks, you have to sacrifice at end of combat. So if you can get it to attack with Wakestone Gargoyle, then you bypass that drawback, which is pretty good. But yeah, obviously you got to jump through some hoops. But if you use it as for its intent, which is being a pretty good blocker, then you only get to do that once. So yeah, I don't think it's great really. It's it's a really good defender that can do its job once, so not ideal in my mind. And then we have 3 Tidewater minions. So 5 mana for 4/4 with Defender. You can pay 4 to make it lose Defender until end of turn, so it sort of doesn't invalidate Wakestone Gargoyle, because Wakestone obviously does your whole board for cheaper as well. But just in case you don't have Wakestone Gargoyle out, you've got the Tidewater minion who can, it can give itself, it can make itself able to attack anyway, and it can tap to untap a permanent, which is fine, I suppose. Yep. And then a couple more defenders that you don't really care about having these attack. So Soulsworn Jury is 3 mana for a 1/4 defender. 1 color, 1 blue. Sacrifice Soulsworn Jury to counter a creature spell, which is okay. But it's in this defender theme, but its power is 1. Who cares if you can make it able to attack? It's only got 1 power. It's better off staying back and blocking. And the same, I think, with Benevolent Ancestor. So 3 mana for a 0/4 defender, taps to prevent 1 damage that would be dealt to any target this turn. Again, it's got defender, but who cares about making it attack? It's got 0 power. It's just helps you stall out the board, I suppose, while you've got your really, honestly, not that many flyers attacking in the air, I suppose. Azorius Guildmage, like all the Guildmages, 2 hybrid mana for a 2/2. don't think that's the uniform code for the Azorius Senate. It must be Casual Fridays, I think. But anyway, she's got 2 abilities: 2 colors and 1 white to tap a creature, which is fine, and 2 colors and 2 blue to counter an activated ability, which is actually that's quite interesting to have that readily available. So yeah, those are 2 pretty good abilities. I think the Azorius Guild Mage is one of the best. One of the better original guild mages. I think probably this one, the Selesnya one, and who else is good? Probably the Boros. The Boros one is alright. The Boros one is very inoffensive and cheap with its abilities. 2 Minister of Impediments, so this is kind of like Master Decoy equivalent. So 2 colors and 1 white-blue hybrid for a 1/1. And tap target creature. So the ability doesn't require a mana cost, which is fine. It's just a bigger upfront payment at the start, I suppose. But yeah, Minister of Impediments is perfectly fine, I think. Then we have a single Paladin of Prav, 6 mana for a 3/4. Whenever it deals damage, you gain that much life, and you can forecast it. So you pay 1 color, 1 white, reveal it from your hand during your upkeep. Whenever target creature deals damage this turn, you gain that much life. So you can essentially pay 2 to give a creature lifelink until turn. It doesn't have to be a creature you control. You could use this to put on an opponent's creature. So if they block with it, you gain the life from it. If it's a creature with high power, it might be worth doing. Yeah, I don't know. It's okay. Be very expensive to cast. Like 6 mana for a 3/4 with lifelink is pretty pricey. And then literally one of the worst cards in the entire game, Zephyr Spirit, who is 6 mana for a 0/6, and when it blocks, goes back to your hand. It's just dreadful, just absolutely dreadful. No idea why it's in this deck. You'd think it had flying, being called a Zephyr Spirit. Doesn't have flying, doesn't have any abilities other than that one, which is just drawback. I have no idea why it's 6 mana either. I'm really not joking. This is like aggressively bad. Like, this is one of the cards I think that was designed to be intentionally bad, so new players can look and be like, this card is terrible, I will replace it immediately, and helps with deck building. And those cards have a purpose, but on the other hand, just don't make bad cards. You would immediately take this out. The deck is better by not having this in. So then moving on to the non-creature spells, so we have a single Faith's Fetters. This is pretty good. It's basically arrest, so stops attacking, blocking, stops abilities, and you get 4 life when it comes into play, so it's actually pretty good. Really nice. Well, actually, I say it's arrest. It's technically better than arrest. It can go on any permanent, so you can put it on artifacts if you wanted to. Put it on land. It can't stop abilities that generate mana, but you could put it on like guild halls, I suppose. Yeah, very, very flexible card. Lots of utility there. We have 2 Plumes of Peace. So 1 white-blue for an aura, goes on a creature. It doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. And you can forecast it by paying 1 white, 1 blue, reveal it from your hand to tap a creature. So again, the idea here is you would tap something down and then cast it, but then you're doing 5 mana for that. Is that really is that really the best move? It's okay. It's fine. I think it's overcosted. I think it would be fine at being just white blue. Or if this had been like if it had been a hybrid card, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of okay. It's kind of the thing with all these kind of Azorius cards in Dissension. They're just kind of all right. It feels like they didn't really have a solid identity for the Azorius, because I know some of the cards seem to care about this forecast thing, but there's also flying. I don't know. It just feels very, very messy, very jumbled in what they really want Azorius to be doing. You have a single Halcyon Glaze. This is pretty fun, I think. So 1 colors and 2 blue. It's an enchantment. Whenever you play a creature spell, it becomes a 4/4 illusion with flying until end of turn. It's still an enchantment. So Theros still can't claim of having the first enchantment creatures. Halcyon Glaze was here before that. But yeah, turning into a 4/4 flyer is pretty good. So you don't have too many creatures in the deck, though, to trigger it. But it's fine, I suppose. It's fine. 2 Ocular Halos, 4 mana for an aura, so it's quite expensive. Enchanted creature has tap, draw a card, which is fine. Pay 1 white to give the enchanted creature vigilance until end of turn, so this is okay. You've actually got quite a few untap effects looking back on it. This is one of the effects where you could get some benefit from tapping something and using stuff like Beacon Hawk or the Tidewater minion to get an untap and draw an extra card maybe. Yeah, sure. The extra vigilance is okay as well, because obviously then you can attack with it and then still tap and draw the card after combat. A single Palliation Accord. So this is it's quite funny actually. So 3 colors, 1 white, 1 blue. Whenever a creature an opponent control becomes tapped, put a shield counter on Palliation Accord. So it is now, because of New Capenna and the brokers using shield counters as their mechanic, this has been changed now to say Palliation counters. So there we go, little trivia there. Remove a Palliation counter from Palliation Accord. I've said Palliation so much now it's just lost all meaning. Prevent 1 damage that would be dealt to you this turn. So this is, I think this is actually okay. It's when a creature and opponent controls become tapped for any reason. That can be, you're tapping them down, or they're attacking, or they're using abilities, whatever. You get a counter on this, and then removing the counter doesn't cost any mana. And it just prevents 1 damage. So this kind of stops any attacking like 1/1s, because if someone attacks you, say like, oh, I'm going to attack you with 5 1/1s, great. They've all tapped. You get 5 counters because 5 creatures become tapped, and then you just go like, right, well, I'll remove all the counters to prevent all the damage those 1/1s would do. So Palliation Accord is actually pretty good. It's actually a pretty good card. I think one of the better cards in the deck. Then we have a single Sin Striker's Will. So 4 mana aura, enchanted creature has tap, does damage equal to its power to target attacking or blocking creature, basically gives it a range strike ability. Again, this is actually a decent use of sort of the untap effects you've got in here, but it's kind of limited that the timing is, you have a timing window on it, can only be used on basically during combat. So not as good as the interaction with Ocular Halo, but it's okay. It's okay. Maybe a little expensive. A single Stealing Stance. So 1 colors, 2 white. Give creature you control +1/+1 till end of turn, and you can forecast it by paying 1 white, revealing it, and a creature gets +1/+1 till end of turn. This is very expensive. This is actually better to keep in your hand and forecast, I think, rather than play it, because +1/+1 for 3 mana is very overcosted in my opinion. The thing is with forecast, it's like, the fact it happens during upkeep is such an awkward time. If you could do it, I feel like if you do it at any point during your turn, it would be fine, but it has to be during your upkeep. So, you say you forecast it, you give a creature +1/+1 at the very, very start of your turn. Yeah, I don't know. It limits its use as like a combat trick. A single 2 arms, 1 colors, 1 white, to untap all creature you control and draw a card. That's actually pretty good. I quite like that. That's all right. Actually, I'm really realizing on the second look, a lot of untap effects in this deck, but not too much to benefit from it. Say the Ocular Halo, the Sin Striker's Will. Can't really think what else really. And then 2 Azorius Chancery, which is the bounce land, and then Prav Spies of Order, which is the Guildhall. Gives you colorless. 4 white and a blue to prevent all damage a sorcerer your choice would deal this turn. Very, 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 very expensive. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it can prevent damage from any source. It doesn't have to be combat damage, I suppose. It can stop a big burn spell, but 6 mana is so expensive. Yeah, but I suppose it's better to have that ability than not, but yeah, it's very expensive, holds it back. So what could have been, I really had some thoughts about this one, as you can see. I just think it's a bit all over the place, as it feels very kind of pile of cards. Just they grab some random blue and white cards and be like, that's a deck, sure. Yeah, I think it could have gone one or two ways. Either go more towards like flying creatures, or go towards more enchantments. Or actually a third way, go more towards kind of like soft control. Which can then be flyers, I suppose. Stall out the ground and then attack with big flyers. I won't go through all these in much detail just because there's a lot of them. But Aura Touch Mage, Celestial Ancient, Freewind Equinaut, they could have all helped with the sort of enchantment side of it. In terms of flyers, Pride of the Clouds, Courier Hawk, Azorius Herald and Guardian of the Guild Pact have like protection abilities or unblockable abilities that would sort of help basically evasive creatures, so that could have been better. And then in terms of just like cards that feel more like Azorius, to make it actually feel like an Azorius deck, you got Droning Bureaucrats, which stops which stops attackers. You've got Repeal, which is a good bounce spell. Overall, which is a counter, because you've got really no counter in here. White, blue, and you've got no counter magic really. And Condemn, which sends attacking creatures to the bottom of the owner's library. So yeah, really, I feel like a lot of missed opportunities in this deck. Yeah, yeah. So in summary, I don't like this one, and I always have to preface this by saying that white blue is my least favorite color combination. So I feel like I'm always gonna be slightly biased towards it, but I feel like white blue is my least favorite color combination because of decks like this, where it's just all over the place. You've got kind of this enchantment theme where you just got a lot of enchantments anyway. You've then got sort of some flyers. You've then got the weird defender sub theme with Wakestone Gargoyle. Yeah, and then this kind of all the tapping and untapping thing. So it feels like there's 4 different things going on here, and none of them are really being done too well. So yeah, very disappointed. I'm not really happy with this one at all. I think, and it could have been so much better with just not too much effort. I don't know. Just feel like it would have been a bad experience playing this one out of the box. But that's just my opinion after seeing the deck. After looking at it on paper. If you have any experience with this deck, please, if you bought it or played it or made changes to it, please stick a comment below. Love hearing people's stories and opinions about these decks. But I'll be back next time. I'll look at another Dissension pre-constructed deck. But until then, thank you for watching and listening, and have a good day.